Welcome to That Business Show 2.0, where business becomes show business each weekday morning at 7 a.m. on thatbusinessnetwork.com, and then made available on demand at iTunes and on YouTube. And we'd love to hear your stories. We talk with many different entrepreneurs, business and community leaders, and to learn how to come onto the program, please visit tbsinterview.com. So my guest today is Clinton E. Day. He is a recipient of the MBA, and he's an adjunct professor who serves as an entrepreneur in residence at State College of Florida. He is a serial entrepreneur who founded 3 insurance entities in Florida and Georgia and began teaching and mentoring after selling his last business. Professionally qualified by the AACSB Business School Association, Clint earned an MBA in entrepreneurship and has been certified by the Babson SEE, Kaufman Icehouse, Lean Launchpad, the UF Experiential Classroom, and Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship courses. He is the author of the Bar Charts Entrepreneurship Study Guide, Set Your Own Salary, How to Entrepreneurship book, and a new anthology about evidence-based entrepreneurship, Understanding Lean Startup, of which we'll be discussing today on the program. And so, Clinton, welcome to the program today.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So in your book, you discuss the business model canvas and its 9 components. So first off, let's talk about what the business model canvas is.
Well, it was developed by a couple of consultants in Switzerland, the main one being Alexander Osterwalder, and they were, big corporate consultants, and they kind of realized the best way to analyze one of their clients was to develop this thing called the canvas, and it has 9 sections. And each one kind of treats with a different aspect of the business. The most important ones are the value proposition. Entrepreneurs are all about creating value and how that interacts with the customer segment. They call the relationship between the two a product market fit. And that's what we teach in Lean Startup. If you can get those 2 right, the rest of it kind of follows.
Now, what happens with a lot of business owners when they start a business? You use the term lean startup as the model of what you teach in entrepreneurship. Is that just cutting out all the waste and focusing on that value proposition?
Well, interesting enough, it goes back to the 30s in the Toyota Motor Company, where they had a concept called Mundo, which is, I guess, less, but they started making engines at the Toyota company by having on-demand parts and keeping their inventory down and essentially running lean. And this concept, was sort of laying dormant as far as entrepreneurship went until Silicon Valley came into being. And in the early 2000s, a couple of tech entrepreneurs, the main one being Steve Blank, the other one being Eric Ries, looked back on their careers in tech and said, okay, what did all these .com kind of applications of the internet have in common? And Steve Blank wrote a book called The 4 Steps to the Epiphany, that, Epiphany being his last business, kind of laid out a thing called the customer development method. And he looked around for a tool to use with it and decided that the business model canvas out of Switzerland was a tool to use. And unlike the old days when we used a 15 to 40 page business plan, which was based on guesses and a lot of secondary research, like libraries and internet, the new method, the Lean Startup, uses direct questioning of the end user. If you were going to make something to do with the publishing industry, you would go out and talk to booksellers, the people who are going to actually use the product, and you ask them open-ended questions, and they help you fill in this business model canvas and tell you what their problems are, what their demands or their needs are. And essentially, it's the end user, the prospective customer, who designs the product. And as a result of that technique, it doubles the entrepreneur's chance for success.
Now, does the book Understanding Lean Startup apply to both product and service-based businesses?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's more service-based businesses than products. It's much easier to start a service-based than it is to start a product business, and it's equally applicable. And that's what I had. I was a
I was going to say, I talk a lot on the program about, this rise in service-based business, but it's also, important to innovate and develop products. But, there's so many people that say, well, I'm just going to become a coach. I'm going to become a consultant, and they don't put a lot of, pre-planning into that. They think, oh, he's doing it. Yeah, I can do that. Tell me how your book, Understanding Lean Startup, can give those service-based providers maybe a better, path to make them successful.
Everything I've written, and I've written 3 things. The bar chart, which is a 6-page laminated study guide, those things you see in the college bookstores on a rack, there was none for entrepreneurship. And I kept clicking on it, and they said there was. So I finally called them over in Boca Raton, and they said, well, we really don't have one. Would you like to write one? Which I did about 3 or 4 years ago. And then the first book I wrote, called Set Your Own Salary, named by my students, gives them ideas. Some students just don't have the imagination of others, and they want the goal to self-employment, but they're looking for ideas. So I developed different categories of entrepreneurship, like I and you are a middleman, a real estate agent, an insurance agent. You also have the pure startup, like the tech guys, and you have franchising, all these different categories. And then I wrote a chapter in that book on high percentage, high percentage model, HPM. And what that did is it took all the statistics for the most success in startups and, gave the best in each category. For instance, it's better to bootstrap your finance than it is to take out a bank loan, far less costly in the long run. It's better to start a service business than a product business because they're much easier to get going and there's more demand for them, things of that nature. And then my third book, which you're asking about, Understanding Lean Startup, it developed over time from the year 2004 up till about 2012. And so it's a fairly recent method. And it's all these paperbacks. There's like 12 or 13 different paperbacks that comprise Lean Startup. So to really understand it, nobody can just go somewhere. They have to basically start working in it and slowly gather these 12 paperbacks. So what I did was, since I've been working in it and teaching it, I wrote an anthology and put all 12 books together in one, just 120 pages. And now people can go to one resource and learn Lean Startup right away rather than struggle with it.
So this is a book for the business owner who wants to start their own business. All the resources are contained in Understanding Lean Startup, with questions to be asking your consumers, your customers. It's going to lay out that pathway to get your business up and running for minimal costs. What's the biggest mistake that you see a lot of business owners make when they're first starting a business? Is that they over leverage, or what would you say is a big mistake for the first-time business owners?
Taught Lean Startup the last couple of years. I'd have to say it's not trusting the method. So they do all the things that people like to do that are fun, but they don't get out there and pound the pavement and actually talk to these people over and over and over. For instance, the main course at UC Berkeley that Eric Ries took from Steve Blank years ago, they have teams who run the class. There's about 5 diverse people on a team, and the more diverse, the more successful they'll be. Like, you want a marketer, you want an engineer, you want an accountant, stuff like that. So these teams have to report every week or every class on what they've done to their canvas that week, who they've talked to, what new sort of brainstorm or idea did they get, how did they change it. And at Cal, in a 16-week semester, they make these teams. Of course, there's 5 on a team, bring in 400 versions of the Lean Canvas. Now, that's a lot. But by the time you finish that course and 400 Lean business model canvases, you know whether your idea is going to work or not work. It's just, and believe me, if it's not going to work, they pivot. They call that a 180-degree turn and come up with a new idea. The little tweaks are called iterations. You iterate them to get to the end. But the bottom line is, if it's a valid concept, and that's what this process does, it validates the idea, its chances of success are excellent. I mean, you can then scale and then spend money safely, knowing that you have something that's going to sell.
What about writing a business plan? I heard you mention, 5 to 10 page business plans. I once wrote a business plan that was like 80 pages. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just started writing and laying it out, and I used a template that I found online to put something together. But does the book help with developing that business plan in the event that you need to go to a bank and say, I need help, I need financing?
Yes, it does. Like a lot of the ingredients of the 9 blocks on the model canvas can be transferred over to a business plan. And there's a software called Launch Plan that actually, you'll fill in the 9 blocks. And then if you need a plan, you hit a button, it'll spit out a plan. But I don't totally discount the business plan. It's just not the way to do a startup. A business plan's needed halfway through the startup first cycle, the early stage of a business, but it's not 40 pages. You need about 10. And the reason is, at some point you may have to go to a bank and borrow some money, and they want to see it. And the second reason is you hire employees knowing you have a valid concept. You have to hand them something to read so that they can be trained, and it's kind of like a standard operating procedure we had in the Army. So a business plan still has its place. It's just not the starting document anymore.
Currently talking to Clinton Day. He is an entrepreneurship professor and author of the book, Understanding Lean Startup. Clinton, availability of the book. Where can people pick this book up?
Oh, man, it's all over Amazon. You just go to my website, clintoneday.com, and I have links to all this stuff on my website.
All right, clintoneday.com. That'll also be up in the show notes. Again, Understanding Lean Startup, a condensed version of how to get a business up and going, whether it's service or product based. He is an entrepreneurship professor, taking many different resources from multiple locations, condensed them down into this one book. So if you're starting a business, definitely check this out, Understanding Lean Startup.
They're all available in ebook
format as well. Currently listening to That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.
Our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring type products, hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
Jackie Skelton from JR World Travel here. If you travel, you need a licensed professional travel consultant, not a computer. Your licensed professional consultant can get you more for your time and your money. Value for your money and experience, not marketing salesmanship. When you're sick, you call the doctor. When you need legal advice, you call an attorney. So the next time you want to go on any type of travel, call your licensed professional travel consultant who actually represents you. We specialise in group travel, family reunions, weddings, to escorting large groups or making special arrangements for the disabled. Please call 844-249-0190. We are a full-service travel consultancy offering worldwide concierge service. Air, land, sea, rivers, resorts, locally, nationally and internationally. Remember that number, 844-249-0190.
Welcome back to That Business Show 2.0, where business becomes show business. I'm your host, Jamie Maloney, and each weekday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we talk with different influencers in the world of business, from entrepreneurs to community and business leaders, and we'd like to hear your story too. So visit tbsinterview.com for more information on how to come onto the program. My guest today is Clinton E. Day. He is an entrepreneurship professor and author of the book Understanding Lean Startup, available at his website, clintoneday.com. And Clinton, in that last segment, we started off by talking about that business model canvas and the 9 components. Obviously, we didn't touch on all 9, but let's continue that. Talk to us about some of these other components that make up the business model canvas.
Okay, I think the best way to start off is to tell you that unlike the business plan, which gets way too specific and is written basically on guesses instead of facts, the business model canvas gets the facts by validating directly with the person that would pay money for the product or the service. So there's 9 sections, and if you look, and you can Google it very easily. Just Google business model canvas, and you'll get 3 or 4 pages. But there's one site called Canvanizer.com that'll let you play with it for free and update your canvas. That's the one we use in class. But if you look at the 9 blocks, think in terms of a clock. You basically start in the middle with the value proposition, and you go around clockwise, and you finish out with the money. But unlike a business plan, we have one block called cost structure and another called revenue streams. These are not specific figures or anything. They're just the model outline of how you're going to make money and how you're going to, structure your costs. And which is a most expensive resource, your key activities. So you're building a model, not a specific business per se. And the idea is when you finish, it's scalable. It can be then taken small and made big, and it can also be repeatable. And the more you can come up with an idea or a service that is repeatable, the more successful your business. For example, Procter & Gamble makes tons of products that are used up and they have to be bought again. In my commercial insurance agency, I wrote business insurance, and they had to renew their workers' comp every year by law, and they had to have auto insurance again by law. So I essentially could build on a base. As long as I took care of my knitting and my existing accounts, you could grow your business. So some of the other sections are, I'm just going to read them out now. To the in between the customer segment and the value proposition, you have customer relationships. How do we get, keep, and grow customers? Below that, channels. Through which channels do our customer segments want to be reached? That's marketing. And then over on the left-hand side, key partners. Who are our key suppliers and key activities? What activities do our value propositions require? And below that, key resources. What key resources do our value propositions require? Now, that'd be your supply, or if you were doing a show as such as you are, your website and your producer. And so you go around and you build it from essentially the right to the left. One side of the canvas is kind of called product, and the other side is kind of called market. But they thought this through very carefully, and everything you need to really think through a business is on here. And whenever you asked Alexander Osterweiler, the author, well, where in the heck is such and such? He'll say, oh, that's off the canvas.
Right. So for somebody who's starting a business, they come across your book, Understanding Lean Startup, they implement the strategies, the ideas, the practices. How long would it take them to get through that process to get them ready to start that business?
It depends on the fire in their belly and how willing they are to follow the rules. There's a new thing out 2 years now called Design Sprint, like the telephone company Sprint. and they are it's designed off of Lean Startup by Google Venture nerds, some really smart guys. The main author is Jake Knapp, but they solve big problems and test new ideas in just 5 days.
Wow.
You take very intense 5-day period, and each day you do something different, like ideate, test, research, and the theory is that at the end of the 5th day, you've got a solution for a problem, or you've taken your first stage in testing an idea. It would never be as thorough or as validated as the Lean Startup, which took, say 16 weeks. But it definitely has its place.
Now, you are a professor of entrepreneurship. You're dealing with the youth of our culture. We hear a lot about the millennials and their ability to innovate and how they think differently. What are you seeing in this new generation of people with the way they're thinking and the ideas that they're putting out there for our communities?
Well, when you get them to look up from their iPhone.
Aren't you allowed to ban those things? If I was a teacher, that's the first thing I'd say. Put those phones away. If I see those things, I'm failing you.
I'm looking at your producer here working on the phone right now.
They all do. I know.
But, they're incredibly talented. They were raised on computers, so they're very adept at this whole scheme. And they seem to be more socially conscious. I mean, 30% of most of the startups that these millennials dream up now are better will work, socially conscious, things like the hippo roller in Africa, where the lady in the village had the string, the 2 buckets to transport the water from the river back to the village. Now she's got this gigantic wheel that holds, 20 times more water, and she just wheels it back to the village. And things like that. The solar lantern, as opposed to the kerosene lantern in Mumbai, India, they've come up with some incredible ideas. So they're quite talented. Some of them.
Yeah, environmentally conscious, socially conscious. I do see that, and I've worked with a number of them, and their ideas do center on more social conscious awareness.
Yeah, and I'm really bullish on the future, because together with the internet, they're changing how we do a lot of things.
Now,
and I think we're scratching the surface right now.
So we've got some great innovators, though, in your class. Any great idea that you've heard from any of your students that will someday impact the community?
I'll give you one innovation. I had a guy who was already in the cell phone repair business in Bradenton, and he wanted very badly to franchise. But franchising is very complicated now because there's so many regulations to protect the public, and there's an expense involved in legal fees. So he had such a roadblock. His first franchise after Bradenton, Florida, was Toronto, Canada. See, he didn't have all these onerous regulations in Canada, so he jumped the fence.
Right.
I mean, that's how creative they are.
Right. Are you seeing a strong demand from students in the college today for entrepreneurship courses versus years ago?
Yes, it's very trendy. Of course, they all see the Bill Gates and the Steve Jobs of the world, and you can't do that easily. But anyone who really wants to have their own business and has that fire in their belly, they can do it. Entrepreneurs are taught, not made, not born. And the Lean Startup is without a doubt, the state of the art to get it done. So if you want it bad enough, you can do it. And if you just the expression we use in Lean Startup is fail fast and fail often, because that makes progress. You get an A for determining your idea is not going to work at the end of a semester. Of course, in the real world, you go bankrupt. But,
right. I've always said if we could just find a way to develop some type of mock economy in our educational system, whereby when you enter a certain grade, you're provided a mock job and mock income, and people could begin to learn those things throughout school. But unfortunately, there's not been a good system put in place for that just yet. That's just one of those educational ideas I had.
It's very successful in those few K-12 high schools that do it. There's 2 programs. One's called NIFTY, Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, and the other is YEA, Youth Entrepreneurship Academy, marketed through the Chamber of Commerces around the country. But there's, I'll give you one name. I don't have the time to go into all this, but there's a very famous guy named Rodney Walker who came out of Southside Chicago and was very listless. And if you Google Rodney Walker, you'll get 2 or 3 pages and be able to watch his video on YouTube. But he essentially transformed his life. He was the son of a couple of drug addicts and got himself in Morehouse College in Atlanta on probation. Eventually graduated cum laude with a video business and went on to Yale Business School. And the only way they could give him a free ride up there is they put him in the theology school. But I mean, he's our superstar. And obviously, when you catch the bug and you get empowered by having your own business and, you know, the responsibility and the ability to make your own way, it's transformative.
But I'm glad you gave me the name of those couple of programs. I didn't know there was any things in our educational system that even remotely, looked like a mock economy to help, youngsters. Because I always say when I got out of, high school and I didn't know what it meant to be upside down on a car loan, which cost me dearly. I didn't know how to get a mortgage. I didn't know any of the basic stuff, let alone how to run a business, So nonetheless, so it's good to know that at least there's some programs out there. Hopefully they will grow in the coming years.
And one thing I might mention, Jamie, is right now, the second year in a row, I've been teaching up at Hillsborough Community College in the Florida Veterans Program.
Okay.
Governor Scott, 2 years ago, allotted $1 million to train any veterans living in Florida or active duty personnel for free. And we use the Lean Startup as our method. And it's just incredible what wonderful entrepreneurs veterans make because they're mission oriented. They know how to work in teams and they can overcome obstacles because they've been trained in leadership. So you'd be surprised about some of the ideas that have come out of that program. I've got one guy from last year's course that has a whiskey distillery over in St. Pete. Now that's, huge undertaking because you got to buy the still. But they've really been productive. And like I say, veterans make great entrepreneurs. Some of them are retired and have that income to support their base.
Good information from Clinton Day, again, entrepreneurship professor and author of the book, Understanding Lean Startup, available on his website in ebook format, clintoneday.com. So Clinton, thank you so much for being with me today on the program. A great discussion.
You're welcome, Jamie. Thanks for doing it.
Absolutely. And again, clintoneday.com is his website, and more about us at thatbusinessnetwork.com. You've been listening to That Business Show 2.0, where business becomes show business.
Hi, welcome to Yeager's. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeager's, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring type products, hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
Hi, Jackie Skelton from JR World Travel here. If you travel, you need a licensed professional travel consultant, not a computer. Your licensed professional consultant can get you more for your time and your money. Value for your money and experience, not marketing salesmanship. When you're sick, you call the doctor. When you need legal advice, you call an attorney. So the next time you want to go on any type of travel, call your licensed professional travel consultant who actually represents you. We specialise in group travel, family reunions, weddings, to escorting large groups or making special arrangements for the disabled. please call 844-249-0190. We are a full-service travel consultancy offering worldwide concierge service. Air, land, sea, rivers, resorts, locally, nationally and internationally. Remember that number, 844-249-0190.
Hello everyone, Jamie Maloney here, host of the all-new That Business Show 2.0, where business becomes show business. New episodes air each weekday morning at 7 a.m. at thatbusinessnetwork.com and then made available on demand on iTunes and on YouTube. So today we're going to be talking about getting better conversion on your website and pay-per-click traffic and all that website fun stuff with Chris Daly, Vice President of Testing and Optimization with Disruptive Advertising. And you can learn more about him throughout the discussion at that website, disruptiveadvertising.com. So Chris, welcome to the program today.
Thanks for having me on, Jamie.
So first off, just tell us a little bit more about the mission and vision of this company and what you all do.
Yeah, so we do two things really well at Disruptive Advertising. Number one, we drive targeted traffic for businesses. So we use things like Facebook ads and Google ads to drive high quality, high intent traffic to businesses' websites. And then my particular area of expertise and the second portion of what we do is we help businesses actually convert that traffic when it gets to the website. So we do that through running A/B tests on website designs to figure out what audiences actually want. And so what really kind of sets us apart from other agencies is we are, number one, focused on generating conversions, but number two, the way that we do that is by learning what audiences want. What are people looking for? And what's going to really generate a high quality conversion for businesses. And so that's kind of really the two areas of expertise that we've got over here.
Okay, you mentioned the term A/B testing. So let's define what you mean when you say A/B testing.
Sure, yeah. So I'll give you an example. So we're working with a company right now called Diesel Power Gear. They've got a show on the Discovery Channel, and then they sell a bunch of different kinds of products on their website. So they went through a big, huge website redesign, which I think every business has been through. They wanted a new, fresh site design. So they went through, they spent a ton of money, got this new site design, and launched it. And they really wanted to make sure that this new site design was going to work. So once they launched the new site, we came in and we started asking questions like, okay, you've got a ton of products. What products should you show on your homepage? So they have their existing homepage on their website. So what we did is we tested 3 or 4 different versions of their homepage where we said, okay, this one's going to have 15 products on it. This one's going to have 5 products on it. This one's going to have 1 product on it. And we're going to split traffic. We're going to send a percentage of your traffic to each one of these versions of your homepage, and we're going to see which one generates the highest amount of revenue. So we ran a test like that on their homepage. And it turns out having fewer products on their homepage generated more revenue.
Was that just specific to them? That's not necessarily a rule of thumb, though, right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so the fascinating thing for me is that what works for websites is totally different for every company. Even within the same industry, you can have 2 companies that sell the exact same product that may have totally different websites that work well for them. And so it's a really fun and exciting space to be in where we're getting to learn what works with different audiences on the web.
Now, there's a trend, or at least there's a trend to me, where websites are getting to be less about content and more about lead capture with business owners. Are you seeing that trend too, where less is more? And elaborate on that, please.
You bet. And so, and again, I kind of shy away from anything from any trends because there really are no trends when it comes to the web. That being said, I have found that especially on mobile websites, less is absolutely more. As people shift more and more onto mobile devices, people just don't tend to read a lot of content on their mobile devices. And unless they're on social media, people aren't really watching videos either. And so on a mobile website, you really want it to be as straightforward, to the point, and as action-oriented as it can possibly be. My rule of thumb is people should be able to figure out in 2 to 3 seconds what they're supposed to do on your page. If it takes them longer to do that, chances are you're going to lose a lot of people.
That's a good tip. I get that question, from time to time with people like, I don't know what to do on my website. And I say, well, the number one thing I always hear people say is, well, when they go to your website, what do you want them to do? So when you go to somebody's website, your own website, is it clearly defined what it is that you want them to do? So a great, takeaway from this discussion. So if people have never tried A/B testing before, where should they start?
Yeah, so there's 2 tools that every company needs to be using. One is a heat mapping tool called Hotjar. Heat mapping tools are really fun. What they do is they will show you where people are clicking on your website, and they'll show you how far down pages people are scrolling. Now, this is super important when it comes to website testing and when it comes to design, because you want to figure out where's people attention focused right now. If people are not scrolling down your page, you probably shouldn't worry about adding more content down below the fold. If everybody's clicking on stuff that's right, in their initial screen when they get to your website, that's your important critical area of focus. And it also helps you to understand what people are looking for. If people are coming to your home page and you've got a banner on your home page featuring a product, and nobody's clicking on it, everybody's clicking on your menu to contact us or something like that, that's probably what you should be featuring right there in your banner. And so it gives you a really good idea of what people are looking for and what people are engaging with. So I absolutely recommend a heat mapping tool for every person that has a website. Like I said, there's a tool called Hotjar that's free. You can sign up for. Everybody should be doing that without question.
How's that work? You just put your website into a search bar there or on Hotjar, and it gives you the analytics, or is it a script that you got to install on your site, like a Google Analytics code?
Yeah, it's basically just like Google Analytics. It'll give you a single line of JavaScript. You just put it on your website. I think there's also some, like if you have a WordPress website, they have some plugins in WordPress that make it fairly easy.
Is Google Analytics code still the standard for website traffic reports, or is Hotjar and other resources beginning to overtake that?
So Google Analytics, you got to have analytics on your website. So that's a must-have. But Google Analytics only tells you a portion of the story. So I look at it in terms of like a story. Google Analytics will tell you what people are doing on your website, but it doesn't tell you why. So you can tell that a lot of people are going from your home page to your Contact Us page, but it doesn't tell you why they're going there or how they're getting there. And so using things like Hotjar, when you layer it on top of your Google Analytics, it gives you additional insights into your audience, and it helps you understand what they're doing, why they're doing it, how they're getting to different places. And so you absolutely need to have an analytics tool on your site, but it's just not sufficient anymore. It doesn't tell you all the information you need to know. The second tool that people need to have if they want to test, they need a testing tool. So something that's going to split traffic to all of these test variations that you're going to create. There's a bunch of these out there. The easiest ones to get started with, I would say, are VWO, Visual Website Optimizer, or Optimizely. These are both tools that have, I think, pay-as-you-go type plans, so you can start without a significant upfront investment. And they're very, very simple. Again, it's a single line of JavaScript. You install it to your site. And they're very easy. They have visual editors, so you can literally, it loads up your website into the tool, and you can literally click on something and change it. So you can click on your headline and edit that headline and make a new headline, and boom, you've got a new version of your homepage.
I see more and more business owners today abandoning traditional website design and using sites such as lead pages for lead capture in their own websites. Do you recommend that? Is there an advantage to just using those types of products for websites?
You bet there's an advantage. So a lot of people use those because it's very simple to create a website or a landing page yourself without designers or developers. That's the biggest hiccup that a lot of businesses have when they start building out a bunch of lead generation pages is, oh, well, I got to get a designer to design this for me. Then I've got to put it in development, and I don't have a developer, so I have to find a development contractor, and they're expensive, and yada, yada, yada. You go through this process, right? even if you have a developer in-house, most businesses have their developers completely tapped out. And so Lead Pages or Unbounce, these tools are fantastic for really simple drag and drop type designs that a single person can do all by themselves. And so if you have a marketer that you want to be creating your pages for you, those tools are great for marketers.
Now, see, in 2014, you started a conversion optimization agency, and you've now merged with Disruptive Advertising, where you've merged, this synergy here, and your expertise is again in lead conversion. Why is it that so many businesses struggle with lead conversion? It's one thing to get the lead to the site, but I want to convert them too. It's great to have 10,000 visitors to my site this week, but if I only got a few conversions, that's not really that impressive.
You bet. And in fact, that's why I ended up getting into doing what I'm doing is, I was driving traffic to people's websites back in the day. And I found that a lot of my traffic wasn't converting, and I got really frustrated. And so I would boil this down to one major issue. The biggest reason why businesses aren't converting more traffic is because they are making a lot of assumptions when they build their website. There's no data behind most website designs. People will either go to their designer and say, design me something that looks awesome, or they'll say, hey, copy this competitor of mine, or copy Apple's website, or copy this website that I really love, Amazon. And so instead of taking a really data-driven approach and figuring out what does my audience want, and not just making assumptions about what your audience wants, but actually trying different approaches and having some data to back your decisions up. And so I think that's, as I talk to businesses every single day, that is the biggest thing that's holding businesses back from converting better is the business owner thinks they know everything. They think they know what their audience is going to want, or they think they know their audience doesn't know what they want. And so they say, I'm just going to tell them what they want. And that's a major mistake.
Hold that point there. We're going to talk about lead conversion more so in the second segment. Currently talking to Chris Daly, again, Vice President of Testing and Site Optimization with Disruptive Advertising. Learn more at that site, disruptiveadvertising.com. Listening to That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.
Hi, welcome to Yeagers. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeagers, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring type products, hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
Jackie Skelton from JR World Travel here. If you travel, you need a licensed professional travel consultant, not a computer. Your licensed professional consultant can get you more for your time and your money. Value for your money and experience, not marketing salesmanship. When you're sick, you call the doctor. When you need legal advice, you call an attorney. So the next time you want to go on any type of travel, call your licensed professional travel consultant who actually represents you. We specialise in group travel, family reunions, weddings, to escorting large groups or making special arrangements for the disabled. Please call 844-249-0190. We are a full-service travel consultancy offering worldwide concierge service. Air, land, sea, rivers, resorts, locally, nationally and internationally. Remember that number, 844-249-0190.
Welcome back to That Business Show 2.0. I am your host, Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. Each weekday morning at 7 a.m. we talk with different business professionals, and we'd love to hear your story as well. So go to tbsinterview.com and you can learn how to come onto the program. Again, new episodes each weekday morning and then on demand on iTunes and on YouTube. So we're talking with Chris Daly, Vice President of Testing and Site Optimization with Disruptive Advertising, and you can learn more at that site, disruptiveadvertising.com, about how to make your website a more powerful tool in your business, and most importantly, getting the people on your website to turn into actual paying customers. So Chris, is there a standard, first off, with lead conversion on a website? If you get X number of visitors, you should have X number of conversions, or is that industry specific, or what can you say about, just conversion rates?
Yeah, so conversion rates are, it's better to compare within industries, but even within industries, you could have some kind of a standard or average, and you may be way above that, and that could be a good or a bad thing. You may be way below the industry standard, and that could be awesome because maybe you're just driving really high quality conversions. And so I typically don't tell my clients to focus on industry standards or what the competitors are doing or what the competitors are converting at, because the truth is your audience is unique. Even if you think you're targeting the exact same people as everyone else in your industry, your audience is unique in the fact that when they come to your website, they are not in the same mindset. They're not behaving the same that they do on somebody else's website. People behave in a very unique way on every individual website. And so it's best to just benchmark yourself against your own conversion rates and try to improve based on your own benchmarks.
I see a lot with Facebook ads or LinkedIn and Twitter ads, and there's always this model that they're usually following. It's a click here for something free, get the email address, hit them with some small type of sale, and then try to hit them with a larger sale if they follow through all the way through. Is that a recommended lead capture model when you have to offer them something free? If they take that, offer them something small, and then offer them maybe a major package?
You bet. It depends on where people are in the buyer funnel. So I think about, if you're thinking about a funnel, at the very, very top of the funnel, you have very low intent traffic. And so if you're targeting low intent traffic, and I consider low intent traffic like people on Facebook or Twitter, right? So if you're just targeting people that are on social media that may or may not be interested in your offer, they have not demonstrated any kind of interest in your industry or in your product. A really high funnel offer like a free white paper, a free ebook, a free infographic. Those are fantastic for really high funnel, low intent traffic. Now, if you're targeting people that are lower in the funnel, so if you are running ads on Google, for example, or if you're remarketing to people that have already been to your site, you don't want to hit them with a free offer because they've already demonstrated that they have intent. They've already demonstrated interest in your offer. And so with those types of people where there's higher intent, you want to give them a lower funnel offer, like get a free demo, or speak to a sales representative, or if you have a product, that's where you want to start hitting them with discounts or with specials, those types of things. So it's all just depending on where people are in the buyer stage.
What type of free items do you recommend? Is a video with a tutorial lesson good? Are reports and statistics good? Or is there anything that you recommend or like a free book? Is there a certain type of product that seems to work well when you're giving something away to attract people?
Yeah, so typically, at least I've found that videos aren't working as well as some kind of a tangible offer. So, I think that videos, because of things like YouTube, people view videos as like it shouldn't be gated content. And so if you have a video, I would just send people to a video, and I would use that potentially as a way to kind of move them down the funnel. The things that I've found are best for gathering email addresses and that kind of stuff are either white papers or reports, something where they can have a tangible takeaway, something that they can reference. And the interesting thing is they may not even read that thing. And so I wouldn't use the actual content itself as any kind of way of selling your product. I would use that as just a value proposition. I've got this free content. Because I think the statistic is something like 75 to 80% of white papers and ebooks never get read. And so I would just use that as a way of gathering people's information, give them something that may or may not be valuable to them, and then try to, again, hit them with some better offers down the line.
What are some techniques that you use when people hire you to drive traffic to their websites, to your clients' websites? Are you doing more than just, advising them on, paying for Google ads or Facebook ads, or what are some ways that you're helping get traffic to those sites?
Yeah, so, when you say Google Ads, there's a lot of different things that you can do. So a lot of businesses are not taking advantage of things like remarketing through Google. So remarketing is a fantastic way. In fact, I have a funny story about that. So when I was considering merging my business with Disruptive Advertising, I was going to the Disruptive Advertising site to do a little bit of research. And then every time, I'd go to some website around the web, I was seeing these disruptive ads popping up on every site that I went to. Now, I, of course, knew that I was being remarketed to, but my wife didn't understand that. And so my wife is, using my computer, and she keeps seeing these disruptive ads coming up, and she goes, "Man, these disruptive guys are amazing. They're on every website I go to." And so I just had to laugh because I'm like, okay, well, they're remarketing. But again, my wife doesn't know that. Most people don't know that they're being remarketed to. And so if you can hit somebody who's already come to your website, and you can continue to reinforce your brand, that is a fantastic way to slowly build some brand equity and some credibility with them over time. And by the time they come back, they've been exposed to your brand so many times that it's much easier to convert them. That's, I think, one of the most untapped ways of getting traffic.
Is that difficult to set up a remarketing campaign with a brand? Is that something that takes an expert that understands how to get that out there? Because I don't know what to do to do remarketing. I have no idea if there's a program or site I go to for that. How do you recommend people work with remarketing campaigns?
Yeah, so you can do that either through Google or through Facebook. It's fairly simple. I wouldn't say that it's super tech intensive. All you're going to basically do is, if you're doing Google or if you're doing Facebook remarketing, all you'll need to do is just have a pixel that's on your website, similar to how you would do a Google AdWords pixel to track people, like a tracking code. And as soon as they come to your site, they're going to get a cookie, and then all you basically have to do inside of Google is you just have to opt in for remarketing ads, and then create a nice visual ad. And so these are ads that are going to show up again on other people's sites that have opted into the Google Display Network or the Google Google networks. And so you just need to create a nice ad, and I typically recommend a very simple ad. It doesn't need to be anything really fancy. It can be a plain colored background with some text and a call to action button. That simple.
When people are designing their sites today, and I'm a kind of a traditionalist, I still like the desktop, and so whenever I'm working on my site, I'm doing it on a desktop, and then when I look at it on my phone, I was like, man, that don't look right. But people probably should be doing the difference. I mean, because some things are just not going to be responsive. Should they build their site first all to have an attractive mobile look, and then worry about the desktop look secondary when there's just no way to get them both perfect?
No, so I would, I hear a lot of buzz about mobile first. Everyone needs to be going mobile first. And I disagree with that. It depends on your audience. So if your audience is highly mobile, and this is where Google Analytics is helpful. You can go into Google Analytics, and I would say if 30% or less of your traffic is on mobile, then I wouldn't worry about mobile first. I mean, you definitely want to make sure your site works on mobile, but I wouldn't focus on, I wouldn't make mobile your number one focus. If desktop is the majority of your traffic, focus on desktop. Now, if you are seeing a shift, if you're seeing mobile starting to take over a larger and larger percent of your traffic, if you've got more than 30% of your traffic on mobile, then that number is likely to grow over the next couple of years. And so you want to make sure that you focus on the mobile first.
Video is all the rave, I hear in marketing today. Is it important to have, a good core video and changing the video on your site? And is it good enough to just embed a video off of YouTube? Do you get the same effects versus maybe uploading an actual file to the back end of your website?
Embedding a video has the same effect. It doesn't really matter how you host that video. And what I would say is video is a big deal, and video can be extremely helpful as a marketing tool. However, videos on a website do not typically get engaged with very much. So videos are great for getting exposure to your brand. They're great for sharing on social media. It's great for being discovered on YouTube or on other video channels. But videos on the website are not typically a high conversion driver. And so I wouldn't worry about trying to get videos on your website.
And it's true that when people come to your site, most of them don't scroll down. Most of them don't go to a second page. So it's very important to have whatever it is that you want them to do right there, front and center, in the very top of the page. Am I correct with that assessment?
You bet. Yep. And again, that kind of goes with my 2 to 3 second rule. If people can't see what they're supposed to do in 2 to 3 seconds, they're typically not going to do it. And so you want to have it right in front of their face. It should be high contrast. It should grab all of their attention instead of pushing their attention to like a picture or a video or something else.
So with this ever-changing world of technology and new devices and new apps coming onto the market every single day and month and year, what's down the road with website traffic and advertising and marketing? I mean, any trends or anything that you see down the road that's going to be very exciting in the space that you're currently in?
I think there are a lot of exciting things that are coming, and websites have evolved a lot over time. I think 5 years ago, it was really cool to have lots of movement and, videos and sliding things on your site. That was, really, really hip and cool. Right now, like you mentioned earlier, it's all about simplifying. And so I think that, again, as mobile plays more and more a part in overall website traffic, I think that websites are going to need to get more and more mobile sophisticated. I think that we're going to see a lot more use of click to X type of buttons on websites, click to call, click to download, click to do these kinds of things on a mobile device. And so I think that, again, there's some interesting trends that are happening because of this mobile phenomenon. And so I think it'll be really fun to see how things play out. And it's, again, reinforcing the importance that businesses have to be testing so that their websites are constantly evolving as traffic behavior changes over time.
All right. Chris Daly, Vice President of Testing and Site Optimization with Disruptive Advertising. Thank you so much for being on the program with me today. A lot of great information in this segment.
Thanks for having me again, Jamie.
Absolutely. And again, if you need some help getting traffic to your website, which we all do, visit disruptiveadvertising.com. You've been listening to That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.